Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Khalil Batchon, and I'm the chair of the Parks and Sustainability Committee, and I want to thank everybody for joining us for our first committee meeting focused on our parks today. As we approach the upcoming budget season, our primary objective today is to address the broader deferred maintenance issues that our parks face. It's imperative that we step back and look at the big picture rather than getting bogged down on the individual projects. I encourage each council member to consider these overarching maintenance challenges and ask questions that will help us better understand the scope and the impact of these issues. Our goal is to foster a comprehensive discussion that will guide our budgetary decisions. As we progress through the meeting and hear from the Parks Department, we will have the opportunity to devolve into specific questions related to individual parks, given that we have the time towards the end of the meeting. This meeting is the first of many, I hope, as we set the stage for collaborative effort in effectively addressing the maintenance needs of our parks. Let's begin with an overview from the Parks Department, better to understand the current state of our parks and pressing issues at hand. Thank you. And we have Michelle King and Jason Canuel here today with us.
Thank you very much, Chair.
We got to do a roll call. 1 second, sorry. Do you want me to do that or you do that? Oh. We've got Councilwoman Marilyn Parker in attendance, Councilwoman Josie Raymond, Councilwoman Crystal Bast, Councilman J.P. Leninger, sorry, and my vice chair to my left is Councilwoman Betsy Rui. And we can start with Parks Deferred Maintenance 101.
All right. Thank you very much for having us here today. I am Michelle King, Executive Director of Parks and Recreation, and I'm joined here today by my colleague, Jason Canuel, the Director of Parks and Recreation.
Sorry, Director. Can you turn your mic on, please?
Okay. Testing. Thank you. All right. So again, I'm Executive Director Michelle King. I'm joined by Director Jason Canuel. I'd like to say thank you for having us here today. Since this is the first Parks and Sustainability Committee meeting of the year, we thought we would start off by giving you an introduction to our department. Then we'll, let's see, I got to advance some slides. So we'll give an introduction to our department, then we'll review a few highlighted current projects that are big ones underway, and then we'll dive into deferred maintenance and parks and recreation facilities. So I don't want to read to you all the entirety of this slide, but I would like to highlight a few things that come out in our mission, vision, and equity statements. First, we are a nationally accredited Parks and Recreation Department, and that means that we have policies and practices in place that meet or exceed national best practices for operational management, efficiency, and accountability. And I'm proud to say that at the end of 2024, we received the results of our annual review, and we're in 100% compliance with all of the audit standards. I also want to point out the focus on people throughout these statements, connecting people and serving people, and providing equitable access and treatment of all people. And that's really our guiding principle, that parks and recreation programs are made up of people, the people we serve and the people that do the work and make it their passion on a daily basis. And then lastly, I'd like to point out that equitable treatment of people includes equitable investment in our parks and recreation facilities. With more than 120 parks, 14 community centers, many other facilities, and countless programs and recreation opportunities, our job is a big one. And we must work together with our leaders, our Metro Council, the mayor, state and federal officials, all to ensure that all of our community are served by our department. The Parks for All study was completed in 2022 in partnership with the Parks Alliance of Louisville, and it was adopted by resolution by Metro Council and endorsed by Mayor Greenberg. The plan calls for increased investment in our parks and recreation system to ensure excellence in every park, in every neighborhood across the city. And I'm happy to say that in the past 2 years, we've seen an increased investment and strong support from the mayor and from Metro Council. And I really look forward to our continued partnership to meet those goals. But of course, we are much more than parks. We and I will go through this list with you all because I think that a lot of people are surprised by all of the pieces, parts that our department make up. So we are over 120 parks and 14 community centers. That includes 10 public golf courses, 2 historic homes, one of which we were at this morning celebrating the groundbreaking for a new welcome center at Riverside, the Farnsley Mormon Landing. And that is a project that came with great private and public investment, and we saw a lot of community excitement around it this morning. That was great to have Councilwoman Bast and Councilman Bachon out there with us to celebrate that. We also have 5 cemeteries that we maintain, and we perform the indigent burial program. And that's a really a solemn responsibility that a group of our park workers undertakes, and probably something that most people don't know about parks and recreation. We also have 4 outdoor pools, more than 30 spray grounds. We have 3 skate parks, 80 miles of trails. We are just taking on management of 4 community gardens and parks. And we plow and salt 256 miles of roads as part of the Metro Snow Team. In fact, over the course of the recent week-long snow event, our snow team that worked around the clock in those operations drove more than 3,500 miles, so roughly the distance from Alaska to Mexico, plowing and salting our roads. We're really proud of that team. And of course, we are now standing up our park ranger program to provide for the security of park users and our park assets. And then some of our more unique assets in the department, we manage and program the Jefferson Memorial Forest, the nation's largest municipally owned forest. And that has seen some great investment from local and state dollars recently, and for which we are kicking off a master plan development process this spring. So I'm very excited about that, and we're looking forward to hearing from the community for a new vision for the Jefferson Memorial Forest. We also have the Iroquois Amphitheater, which we just recently announced an amazing 2025 season through our new partnership with Danny Wimmer Presents. We've got more than 20 shows and community events lined up. Community events include things like our free movie nights. And the list is just growing every week, and we have several sold-out shows already. So it's going to be a really exciting season out at Iroquois. And then we also manage and maintain the Mary T. Maher Aquatic Center, which is a year-round indoor aquatic facility that hosts both swim teams and our casual swimmers alike. And I was just say that we are very fortunate here in Louisville to have some really strong community partners to work with to achieve all that we do. In our parks and natural areas, we have a cadre of nonprofits that work side by side with us and support our parks and increase community investment through philanthropy. That includes the Parks Alliance of Louisville, the Olmsted Parks Conservancy, and Wilderness Louisville. We're also fortunate to have a great nonprofit partner in our golf programming in First Tee of Louisville, and they serve youth through golf programs that help them build skills for the game as well as for life. And our community centers, those 14 hubs of community activity throughout our city, they really couldn't serve the people that we do without the local community partners that participate there. And that ranges from organizations that provide out-of-school educational opportunities to nutrition services for kids and seniors alike, to partners that provide arts and cultural opportunities across the neighborhoods. There are really far too many for us to have listed here on this slide, but we are still always looking for more great partners. So I encourage you all, if you hear of an organization that is looking to provide programming, please connect us. So these are some of the teams within our department that do the day-to-day work that bring great parks and recreation experiences to our city. With more than 350 positions in the department, there's a lot of work to be done. Our operations teams include 4 different maintenance districts, a specialized playgrounds crew, and a skilled trades team that works across the Parks and Rec system. We also have a forestry team that not only plants and maintains trees in parks and along parkways, but also manages trees along all of our public right-of-ways. And that division was awarded a $12 million grant last year from the National Forest Service and is just nearing its first year of a 5-year grant program. So many of you will probably hear from our urban forestry team to meet around planting projects that may happen in your districts. The recreation team, they operate those and program those community centers and the Mary T. Maher Aquatic Center. That division also supports special events across all of our parks, as well as events that are hosted by the mayor's office. And they also partner with the Department of Resilience and Community Services to provide a senior nutrition program that's really important to so many of our community. And we had some really great investments in our community centers last year with some new technology in the computer labs. That ranges everything from fast gaming computers to 3D printers and even VR headsets. So that's really increasing the access to technology across our community. Of course, I mentioned golf earlier, those 10 public golf courses. So we partner with a golf pro at each of those courses that allows for a variety of program opportunities. We also have a specialized turf maintenance staff, and we have specialized equipment to maintain those golf courses for our community at really accessible rates. And then Jefferson Memorial Forest, a real gem in the southwest of our county. Along with more than 6,000 acres of that forest, our natural areas team also maintains another 500 acres of natural areas, and amongst them all, roughly 80 miles of trails. We also have a partnership with our friends at Wilderness Louisville, and then we're able to deliver the Engaging Children Outdoors, or ECHO program, not only at JMF, but also at Shawnee and Chickasaw Parks. And we're well underway at a project to construct a new and beautiful Shawnee Outdoor Learning Center that will take that program to new heights and really continue to ensure that nature-based programming is available to children across the entire city for decades to come. And of course, the amphitheater, which has just been a historic and cultural asset for our community for nearly a century now. It's also the official amphitheater of the Commonwealth of Kentucky. And all of this is supported by an amazing team of administrative and communication and engagement professionals and project management professionals that really just make all of this happen. So at this point, I'm going to hand it over to Jason, who is our projects guru, and talk about a few of our noteworthy projects under construction right now.
All right, good afternoon, and thanks for all the Parks 101. I think once you can grasp everything that the Parks Department is in charge of and what we do within Jefferson County, it's pretty surprising that our little department does so much. So let's go to the first project here. So just so everybody knows, we've got in our capital project portfolio 172 different projects. So what I've done is highlighted just a few of the larger projects, and by no means are these selected in any way other than they're pretty large and very impactful, not to diminish any of the other 172. So under construction right now, we do have 2 brand-new outdoor pools that are under construction. One is in Algonquin Park, and the other is in Camp Taylor. Both of these new pools are replacing pools that were built in the early 60s. So those pools that were built in the 60s they were closed for the past couple years just due to repairs. It was beyond repairs, equipment, concrete, the pool shell, the pumps, everything was pretty much done. So we were at the point where we needed replacement. Luckily enough, the ARP funding came through to Jefferson County, and that is what enabled us to go forward with these 2 pools. Again, we're beyond excited to get these underway and starting to see some real things come up out of the ground. It's very exciting to see, and I can't wait until they open this summer. And the next up is New Walnut Street Park, which is a very interesting park in how it came to be. This is in partnership with the Louisville Metro Housing Authority, in which they needed the property that Old Walnut Street Park was on. And with their source of funding, they were required to basically replace Old Walnut Street Park, and now we have New Walnut Street Park. This is on the site of the old Porter Paint site, 13th and Muhammad Ali. And this is one of the first times I've been involved with starting a brand new park from scratch. This was just raw ground. A lot of community engagement went into this, and the design you see there is probably a year's worth of public engagement and design concepts. And again, it's going to be a huge deal there in the Russell neighborhood, and that project is also currently under construction. And the Wi-Fi in Parks project. We're working with Metro IT folks to provide free Wi-Fi in all of our parks. The date that this slide was created, we had 37 different parks connected. 10 of them were in progress and 75 have not yet started. I think the goal right now is to get all 124 parks that we maintain with free Wi-Fi by the end of next year, I believe. I think they're getting 2 or 3 done per week. So progress is going well. And it's a really great amenity to be in a park. You can work from, for those of you that are still working from home, you can work from a park with the free Wi-Fi. So, and now to the topic that Council Chair brought up earlier, the deferred maintenance overview. So I think let's all agree on what the definition of deferred maintenance is. We're defining deferred maintenance as the postponement or delay of routine repairs, upkeep, or general maintenance on facilities, equipment, vehicles, and infrastructure. That's a lot to say, but to simplify that, it's just putting off necessary repairs today, which will lead to larger problems later. I've been here for 15 years with the Parks Department, and prior to me getting here, I think deferred maintenance is what was mainly done. So most of our facilities, buildings, roofs, HVAC systems, they were deferred with repairs rather than replacing something. A Band-Aid was put on it. And that happened year after year after year, and now we're kind of in the hole of we've got a lot of things that need a lot of help. A good example was the 2 outdoor pools. So how are deferred maintenance projects identified and prioritized? What we do with my engineering team, we'll sit down 2 or 3 times a year and go through a deferred maintenance list. The things that hit our list are mainly life safety issues. That's what we qualify first and foremost. That's what we want to identify the projects that we need to take care of immediately. FY '24 and '25 was the first 2 fiscal years that our deferred maintenance list made it to the mayor's office as well as council, and that's where the projects were selected from. So we've got a long list of projects, deferred maintenance projects that we need, and the funding came through as it was decided by council and the mayor's office. And I will say this, in FY '24, we had just shy of almost $19 million worth of deferred maintenance projects. There was a total of 90 brand-new projects that we got dropped in our lap in FY '24. Out of those 89 projects, 45 are currently complete and 44 are in progress as we speak now. So there's a whole lot to do and to keep track of. Go to the next slide. What we were able to do is, with Power BI and using some technology, we've got a deferred maintenance dashboard that's available for the public to view. If you go to our bestparksever.com, our normal website, there's a green button right there on the home screen that says deferred maintenance, and that'll take you to this deferred maintenance page in which you can select different projects of interest per council district and kind of get the update for that particular project. And as well as the Power BI dashboard that's available, we are also providing Metro Council with deferred maintenance update spreadsheets every month. This is an example of this is the FY '24 spreadsheet that was submitted. I think that was December's that's up there on the screen. So there's a lot to do and a lot going on. I do want to point out that the folks handling these deferred maintenance projects are also handling all the other capital projects. So the team consists of one assistant director, 3 project managers, and we've got 1 vacant project manager position and 1 project manager out on FMLA. So all the work that you see there being managed with deferred maintenance projects, the 90 projects, and all the other capital projects are handled by 5 folks, as well as myself. I'm a director, yes, but in my free time, I also manage projects as on an as-needed basis, which is needed right now. So there's a lot of good things going on, a lot of good work being done by some great folks. Is that it?
Thank you very much, and
Thank-
open for questions.
Yeah, thank you, Jason. Thank you, Director King. I'll just start off until we get somebody in the queue. But with that being said, you talked about project managers, and obviously, I want to first off just commend for understand. I understand you're overworked and probably underpaid and all the things, and you're bombarded. But obviously, we have a lot of things going on. We have a lot of things in the pipeline. But I want to ask, what are we doing to try to fill those project manager roles that we need first and foremost?
So the 1 vacant position that we've got, that was posted and came down, I think, last week, and there was only 3 applicants. For that kind of position, I would have hoped for a whole lot more response. But the way that the private sector is currently paying project managers, it's a little bit more than what is in the Parks Department's budget. So there's a little misalignment there. But it's not specific to the Parks Department itself. Other project managers in public works and facilities, they're all kind of in the same boat on, we need project managers, but we're having trouble competing with the outside consultants.
What do we need to do to bring that number up, and how many additional project managers could Parks withstand?
If money were not an option, I think we should add at least 3 more project managers.
So 6 total.
We've got 5 now.
Okay. So having 8 would
Yes.
sustain.
Yeah. So that would fill the vacant position plus 2. So a team of 8 would be ideal.
Okay. Can you quickly walk me through what the process is of the average timeline from, identifying a project that may need to be started, and execution of that project? Let's, for example, an HVAC system, windows, plumbing, electrical,
Sure.
restroom replacement, whatever that may be. And then I'll have a follow-up to that, and then I'll get into the queue.
Okay, let's take a real-world example. Let's talk about the replacement HVAC system at California Community Center. That was a pretty large one. So that project was funded in, I think that was in the original FY24 budget, not the mid-year adjustment. So hypothetically, let's say that project was funded July 1st. So that project is large enough to where we need to bring in a HVAC mechanical engineering consultant to come in. So design-wise, you're talking 3 months, 3.5 months to develop plans and specifications. So there's 3 months before we've not done anything yet. Once the plans are done, then we put it out to bid, and by the time you put it out to bid and award a contract, you're anywhere between 2 and 3 months.
So we're 6 months in a process for HVAC
Correct.
when it's a community center. So just so work with me here, because I want to try to understand, and we're working on some procurement questions as well. But in the community center, is it the same type of HVAC that we're putting on this building?
Probably.
Probably or probably not.
Probably, yeah. It would be a commercial type HVAC system.
But not boiler unit and multiple. Give me a size. Let's say the square HVAC or community center is 5,000 square feet.
5.7.
Okay. Couldn't we, instead of having to go to an HVAC consultant and hiring them and hiring a big-time company to come in and replace that, is there an RFP process or procurement process that we use some smaller companies that do smaller jobs like that and not massive city hall-sized buildings and up? Wouldn't that cut the time in almost half? I mean, if this goes out in May, now we've gone a whole summer without HVAC.
Right. So I'm not sure what exactly is your question?
I think that is there a way, Director, and it's probably a question for you, it might be a question for Deputy Mayor George, but is there a way we can shrink in that time process where we're not having to hire a consultant, or we're not having to get all this done? We can just go to, Jimmy John's HVAC company that has a good reputation that might have a BPA agreement with the city that says, hey, they're going to cover our community centers. And a company like DeBraw or somebody takes care of all of our larger centers and things like that. So it's a quicker turnaround. We can make a quick phone call, one-stop shop. Hey, go handle the issue at this community center, and we're probably going to save half the money as well. Is that?
Well, I think that's a better, longer discussion with OMB in purchasing.
Okay.
So we do have annual contracts available for us to use. DeBraw, I think, has got our HVAC contract for repairs, smaller repairs. Once you get into something very large, the example that you used in this building, and we're talking about California Community Center, that was a $700,000-800,000 project. So that's something that needs to be bid out competitively. And that's to our benefit, really. So we're not just relying on one individual company giving us a price and we just run with it. So opening it up to other folks to be more competitive, and so where we've got different consultants that we can compare apples to apples with.
Okay. And I'm gonna ask kind of the same question, but in a different situation. And I'm going to use a specific one because I just noticed it and witnessed it the other day. But there's a park near my district, and it's Sun Valley restrooms replacement. Mm-hmm. Can you walk me through that process and how the actions happen there? What the process was to decide we needed to replace these restrooms, when that happened, who handled the bidding, how and whom it was paid for by, and what's the project timeline there?
All right, we'll take that in pieces.
And I ask the questions like that to get an understanding of what the process looks like.
Sure. For
all projects, right?
Right. So Sun Valley restroom was built somewhere between 1974 and 1975. That goes back to when the city and county were not merged yet, and the old county park system had some kind of deal on these restrooms. There were these weird metal panel, metal roof restrooms that over the course of 50 years have just been a rusty, absolute mess. It has been our mission to try to get rid of all of them. We're actually under construction right now with Long Run, which has got the same restroom Sun Valley had. And I think right now we've got 2 or 3 of those that are left that we want to target to get those out of the system because they're old, antiquated, not accessible, and just need to be replaced.
So the process to decide to replace those was just kind of, hey, these are on the list. We'll get to them when we get to them. We got to Sun Valley. We decided to replace it.
Yes.
Okay. Who handled the bidding process for that?
I was involved with some of it, and a couple of other project managers were all involved with it. So when you say there was two different tracks that we took with the restroom. One, we needed to have it designed, permitted, and that was done with a consultant that we have under contract right now for small projects, kind of like DeBraw, like we were talking about for repairs. So that kind of shortened the time frame on getting the design done because there was no bidding process with that. So once it's designed and permitted, that's when it got put out to bid for construction.
And an RFP went out for that?
Correct.
And then where did the money come from to fund that
I
particular
believe
project?
that was all FY '24 deferred maintenance that came through the mid-year adjustment.
What's the project timeline on that?
Actually, I'm waiting on a schedule from the contractor. I drove by there this morning after we left Farnsley Moorman. I think they've got the footers poured, but I've not seen what their schedule is. I think our goal is to get it open, I'd say within the next 3 months, hopefully before the ball field, the Little League folks get out there and the soccer leagues get going.
Final question on this particular situation, just in general of the overarching view. Do you put any type of clause in your bidding process, Jason, or working with your contractors to say, hey, we need a direct, window of when completion is done? Because I hear that a lot. Well, we're hoping that it's this time frame. We're hoping it's around here, hoping it's there. And, as I've come through my career, I've worked with different contractors, and there's a lot of deadline dates put on certain things. Can we not do that to expedite the process and, ensure efficiency with deadlines with the contractors?
I think we could, but there's no way for us to penalize them if they don't.
And why is that?
That's a good discussion for the county attorney's office and the director of purchasing. I don't know why we've not been able to go forward with that. But to your point though, as far as schedules go, most of our construction projects that are going on right now, we've lost almost 2 weeks of work with the snow, the ice, and the rain that we've had recently. So there are legitimate reasons for projects to be delayed due to weather. So just keep that in mind too. So
No, I understand. Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna come off the floor for a minute and pass it on to Councilwoman Bass.
First, I want to say thank you, Michelle and Jason, for being here. This is very educational, and for all you do. We appreciate you. I just had a few questions kind of based off of what you say. Jason, after running into you this morning at Farnsley, you had mentioned the concession stand had been broke into.
Yes.
And so at a standpoint, how does the renovation work on that, and where does the funding come for? Is that part of maintenance? Do you need funding for that?
So in our capital budget, we've got an account called the general repair account, and that's the money that is used for the reactionary type repair projects like you're talking about. So once we get our electrician in and determine what the damage is and the cost is, the majority of those costs are going to be charged to that general repair cost center.
Okay. I know this has happened a few times there. Does Sun Valley have Wi-Fi yet?
I honestly couldn't tell you. I've
Okay.
not seen the list in a while.
I didn't know what we can do on a security standpoint. I know it's happened, I think, 2 or 3 times now, that same concession stand.
Two that I can remember. Yeah.
Do you think flock camera in the area would help? What kind
Possibly.
of security? Are those gates locked at night?
They are not.
They are not.
No.
Okay, so maybe we can work on something on a security aspect there, so we'll have to look at that.
Yeah, be glad to sit down and talk to you about that.
Absolutely. Is there a master plan for Sun Valley? I
No,
tried to
ma'am.
look one up, and
There's
Okay.
not.
would you recommend we look at getting that? And if so, how does that work? About how long do they take to get? And
I think for the majority of parks that we have now, like Sun Valley, it's well established. I wouldn't say a full-blown master plan process would be needed because things are, the walking path is there, the trails are there, the fields are there. I think we're more at the point on refining what's there, so it's almost like we would need to come up with some conceptual designs
okay,
on what things could look like, but we would really benefit from getting public input
sure.
to find out, when the park was originally built, the demographics of the neighborhood around Sun Valley Park, it probably changed drastically
Yeah.
from what it was then and what it is now. So that I would encourage the public input and some conceptual designs and changes. We've got a consultant under contract already that we could get them involved.
Yeah, I'd love to do that, and that way we can look at where we're at and where we can go forward with it. That's all I have right now. Thank
Okay.
you.
Councilman Lininger, sorry.
So I have a couple of questions pertaining to Parks for All. So my first question is, the baseline, vision for 2024 was a just over 30 million for parks from Metro, and so we are pretty short on that, right? And then I would assume that this is a vision for a cumulative spending, that we've got an idea of, these are the things we need to do for maintenance, for rehab, for capital expansion. If we are falling behind year to year, you would say that's a pretty significant cumulative deficit as we go forward in meeting those plans and those goals that we set.
Right, the Parks for All plan, and this was prioritized with a great deal of community input and also looking at best practices. It prioritizes investments first in deferred maintenance, so those things that have been let go for too long, and then that general maintenance, that reactionary kind of keep things up as you go, then programming, and then last, the capital investments in new things. Now, that's not to say that you don't do all of those at once, but as far as the limited dollars you have, those are some of the kind of framework for how we will spend those. It also envisions an increase in spending that we don't really have a reasonable outlook for at this point. It talks about some other finance options, including a park tax to support parks, which we don't have here locally, but some of the other cities that we were compared to find that per capita spending do have. So it is a aspirational spending plan, but not one that reflects our current reality. We have seen increases in our investments, but not to the level called for in that plan.
So we're short on the Metro contribution. Have we made any progress in the philanthropic increase? We were at $3 per resident. The benchmark cities was 11. Are we getting any closer there?
We have made progress. We are not at that benchmark, no.
Okay. So the draft budget recommendations in Parks for All, as you said, the priorities, you set them, going along the wheel. And between the two of them, that's 64% to rehab and maintenance. Is that reflected in our current spending?
No, it's not.
Okay. How short are we there?
I don't have the numbers right now.
Okay.
That's something we have to look at.
Yeah. And then my final question, as it relates to Parks for All, the equity portion where we talk about the community needs score, where we have talking about the highest needs in terms of accessibility and also health outcomes. Do we feel that our current investment in parks, say FY24 in the mid-year, reflects or fails to reflect the community needs score aspect?
We haven't crunched those numbers, so I don't have a
Sure,
firm
sure.
data-based answer for you. I think that we've seen a great deal more prioritized investment in those
Okay,
needs
good.
areas. Absolutely.
All right, thank you.
Council Vice Chair Ruby.
Thank you very much. I'm going to switch gears a little bit here. So I've been working with the Committee on the Urban Forestry Master Plan, and it was pointed out in the master plan that most of the funding for forestry is actually spent in the parks. I've seen plenty of downed trees. I know there's definitely a need, but there's more trees that need service in the city in general, and they're not getting that attention. Is there anything out there to make this a little more equitable?
Well, I would first point to the $12 million Louisville Equitable Forestry Initiative project. That is that grant-funded 5-year project there. I will also say that the urban forestry team has grown since it was combined with the community forestry team that took care of streets, combined with parks and parkway team in the parks department. So the care and attention to street trees has certainly grown over the past several years. There's a lot of trees and a lot of need, and so we certainly would benefit from added funding, both for personnel as well as for the equipment and the facility for our urban forestry team to work out of.
Okay, thank you. We've actually been trying to talk to Parks and Trees Louisville about doing a volunteer tree pruning along some of the street trees in our district, because I know that a tree that's pruned properly when it's young will be healthier as it gets older.
Absolutely. We
So-
love that training our volunteers, because we know that that then goes and helps support the urban canopy beyond that volunteer day as well.
Yeah, so often we plant a tree and we say thank you very much and we go about our business.
Right.
And those trees need our support. Okay, there's nobody else in line, so I'm going to go for my next one, which is, as I spoke to you guys out in the hallway, there's some deferred maintenance that is not an air conditioner. That's mostly just labor to go out there and dig things out and maintain things in our environment. Where does that fit in your priorities?
We definitely would say that our personnel is a high priority because, as you say, we can't get the work done without the people to do it. So that portion of our budget is a priority for us, and filling the positions that we have is a priority for us. So we need to fill the vacancies, but also we need to add additional opportunities for them.
Okay, one more question, and I'll pass on to you.
I think it goes to that point. Can I interject? and follow?
Okay, go.
Sorry. I'm going to ask a question I'll follow up to that question that she asked. With that as your priorities, Director, how many people do you have staff to address these issues in that regard, where it's just, hey, let's go put the board back up on the concession stand at Fairdale concession stand youth league that's been down for a couple years and it's not been replaced, and the joists are there, or removing a sign that says tennis courts when there's no tennis courts, things of that nature. Do you have people to do that, or are we subbing that out as well?
No, the people that would be responsible for that are the same people that are responsible for our core duties of mowing, trash, and cleaning restrooms.
So how do we, now, would that be considered a deferred maintenance issue, or is that going on the log on the dashboard, or is that just something that?
That would fall in the category of just routine maintenance, not
Okay.
necessarily deferred. For example, if the culverts got buried for 5 years and we didn't know they were there, we would need a contractor to go out, dig it up, and find it, and put a head wall on it like it originally should have had. That would be more of the deferred maintenance type issue.
Okay.
So catching the routine maintenance now will alleviate the problems down the road.
The proper way to catch the routine maintenance, is it a facilitator of the park or the venue or the space reaching out to you, or is it the council members or the LAs? What does that process look like for us, for you all, so we can expedite these issues that aren't getting done as well?
Sure. A couple things with that. Obviously, calling 311. I would encourage everybody to call 311 if you see a problem in a park and report it. We don't know it's broke, or we don't know it needs to be fixed if we don't know. So Councilwoman Rue, to your point, I've received numerous emails from you about Iroquois and things that we don't mind. I've heard some council members say, "Oh, I don't mean to bug you." Like, you're not bugging us if you're letting us know what's broken, because we don't know it's broke, we can't fix it. So the more people we have out in the parks seeing things and letting us know, we'll have a better opportunity to get those fine details, like just a simple culvert that got covered up. We might have a new maintenance guy in Iroquois that might not know that drain existed. So it's covered up. He never knew it was there. So it's things like that for you to point out. You're not bugging us, and those are the kinds of things that we need to know.
Thank you for that, because yes, you get bugged by me a lot, don't you?
We're not getting bugged.
So,
eyes and ears.
question then, okay, so my husband worked in Metro Parks, he's a golf course superintendent. And the way he described the year to me is the summertime is when all the work is happening, because that's when the grass is growing. So the wintertime tends to be slower. Is there more time available for these guys to do some of these smaller things that just need muscle?
That is what we've tried to do the past 2 winters. Come up with a long list of winter projects, things like just nailing a board on a fence in McNeely Lake Park, or removing some bollards in a park that are old and rotted and look absolutely horrible. So the past couple years, the past 2 years, we've actually made a more concerted effort of, okay, it's a slow time, we're maintaining equipment, obviously, and we're taking care of a lot of the little detailed things that we didn't have time for this summer.
Okay, thank you very much. You guys do a lot of work, and I've seen a lot more done than I have in years past, so thank you for everything you do.
You're
And
welcome.
I'll pass it on.
Thank you. Councilwoman Raymond, give me 1 second. I'm going to ask a question real quick, and then I'll follow. How much is needed for deferred maintenance, to date? What would you need? What is the number you need for deferred maintenance?
The last time that we put a total together was about $176 million. And that does not include replacing buildings that we know that need to be replaced.
Where are you at today?
Again, we've not really crunched numbers past that 176. I can easily come up with $30 million off the top of my head that we need today.
If you were to receive $30 million today, could you execute $30 million today?
I would need staff to do so.
And how many staff members do you need?
For the 30, hypothetically, a $30 million total, I'd say probably a team of 10 to 12.
All right, I'm going to thank you, Jason. I'm going to pass it back on to Councilwoman Raymond.
Thank you. I wanted to ask you all more about the community engagement piece. I saw a really neat Facebook post a week or so ago, and I imagine it's sort of your standard operating procedure, but it was a community meeting about Sylvania Park, and there was a foam board up, and it said, which sports would you like to see in the park? And it was soccer, and baseball, and futsal, and all kinds of stuff, right? And I imagined that people were going to come up and put a sticker on it. So is that a standard process? How much do those decisions stick? If there was an overwhelming number of stickers on cricket, are we getting a cricket field? And then if you would go to the pool slide, same question with this. Does this account for, and I love how there's diversity of features in our parks and in our pools. The one with the climbing wall at Algonquin. Oh, yeah. So the climbing wall and the family slide at Algonquin versus something that's different at Camp Taylor. Did these things come out of community engagement sessions?
They did. It was like 3 summers ago. We held meetings, public engagement meetings in the parks themselves with the foam boards, and allowed people to put stickers on the family slide, the climbing wall. And that kind of guided our decisions on what went into the pool in the design phase.
Yeah, the idea of the kind of interactive sticky boards, it's helpful. It's a pretty standard piece. It can look different in different types of public engagement, but it gives people ideas that they might not come up with off the top of their head, because most of us aren't parks design professionals, and you only know what you've seen. And if you're trying to reimagine a space or find out what ideas people have today, it's really helpful to kind of start with some of those ideas, the universe of possibilities out there. But then there's also a phase of just sort of open brainstorming for needs. At the Sylvania meeting, for example, we started with, what would make you feel safe and welcome in this park? And that led to an entire discussion. Then there's what kind of recreation and activities would you want? So the community engagement piece is really a partnership between the parks people helping the community kind of guide them through this idea of what their park could look like and what would really be meaningful for them. And then that's the ultimate goal, is to put that into the design and then make it happen. And I think the pools are a great example of that.
That must be an amazing feeling for neighbors when they think, well, 3 years ago, I put a sticker on the climbing wall, and oh my gosh, it's actually happening. And I want to say, dang it, Camp Taylor neighbors, we could have had a family slide. Well, I didn't go to the meeting and put my sticker on it. And I wanted to ask you, as sort of trends change in recreation, how do we account for those updates? I'm thinking of Camp Taylor Memorial Park, right there. It's got something, I had to finally figure out what this is called, a funnel ball. You know those poles, and then it's got the plastic thing on top, and the balls come out the four sides, and nobody knows what it's called? It's called funnel ball, right? So there's an unused funnel ball pole there, and then there's some old workout equipment, where you can walk around and you do pull-ups here and you do push-ups here and whatever, and that's kind of falling apart. Maybe the community would like those things restored, or maybe the community says, you know what, we're kind of over that, and we're into lap swimming and pickleball and whatever else. How do we account for those sort of trends in recreation and update the parks? Are these new projects that are coming from Metro Council to not just add things but remove old things?
We would hope that it would be a collaboration between the council member of that district and the Parks Department. For example, with Camp Taylor, with those things that you were talking about, the exercise equipment, I think that's a good conversation that you and I can have.
Yeah.
And then take that to one of the neighborhood meetings and say, hey, here's our thoughts, it's old, it needs to be replaced, but what do we replace it with? Get that kind of input, and then kind of make those educated decisions based on the data that we have from the neighbors. Maybe look at the demographics of the neighborhood and what's trending with those demographics.
Okay, thank you.
Councilwoman Bass.
Hello, thank you again. I have a few questions. Your maintenance department, is it fully staffed?
Yes.
And are they like designated to certain parks, or do they go all over?
We've got 4 different maintenance districts: the Northeast, Southeast, Southwest, and Northwest. So those, divide the county up into 4 areas, and each district is responsible for those parks within that district.
So it would be the same maintenance people working within those districts?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
How do we determine which parks are worked on? Is it by who needs more, what's in worse shape? Do we prioritize, or how does that work?
Define worked on.
Things that need replaced or repaired, or new builds, things of that nature.
So the majority of the smaller repair type things, we're relying on our staff that are out mowing, cleaning restrooms, and doing trash to say, hey, that bench is broke, it needs to be replaced. In addition to, we rely on notifications from council members like Councilwoman Rui in Iroquois Park. I know when anything goes on in Iroquois Park because she'll let us know, and that's good because that's what we need to know. Like I said, we can't fix it unless we know it's broke. And if you see something, you've got to say something. So that's kind of the smaller type projects, but the larger capital type projects, that is more of a situation where we'll get input from. It'll probably start with our guys in the field saying, hey, that the restroom in Sun Valley, it's so rusted, we can't patch the hole in the wall anymore. We can't mount the toilet on the wall because there's no structural steel left to do so. That's the kind of information that we would get, and then and help us make that decision. That gets moved to the top of the list because it's beyond repair.
The reason I was asking, there's a park in District 14, Medora Park, that's on Pendleton, that's kind of been lost and forgotten, the poor little park. I didn't know, how do we work on, do we get a master plan for that, or do we go into, say, hey, Medora Park there's probably, nothing left there now, everything that is there is pretty much old and fallen down and apart, and it's kind of sad. I think when I looked it up, it's about 6 acres. We could do so much there. So
I think there's plenty of opportunity for us to join forces and figure out what we need to do there. But again, some community engagement will go a very long way.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. I'm gonna, with the question that Councilwoman Bass asked about maintenance, I'm just gonna speak about a specific situation from another council district that has been kind of in my ear pretty heavily about it, that says they've reached out to you all multiple times. in Fairdale, there's the sign that has tennis courts that was replaced with pickleball courts to be removed. They've been working on trying to get that removed for 2 years now. They've been waiting on a sign for Nelson Hornback for 2 years, as well as on the concession stand of Fairdale Youth League, the piece of wood that is to go up on the building that covers the joists that is being exposed as well has been 2 years. I was told today that they have even talked to you all about it in walkthroughs, different other occasions. What is it going to take to get your maintenance team to address this immediately?
It was last year that all this occurred, not 2 years ago. So
I'm just going with what I've been told. So
I know. The individual that I was going to have handle the wood on the joist, I wanted my architect to look at it first to make sure, number one, we're not just putting wood to cover up something that needs to be fixed as well. So there was a whole lot of back and forth, and he's the one that's out on FMLA that I don't have access to right now. And rather than bringing in a consultant, I was hopefully just waiting on him to come back. But the sign, we've already addressed the sign. There's multiple other projects that are going on in there in Nelson Hornbeck itself to benefit the Little League fields there. But yeah, that's the gist of the missing wood.
can you give us some assurance that we can get these things executed expeditely for this council member?
Sure.
And some feedback on why is it taking so long to receive a sign for Nelson Hornback that was, I guess, ordered new?
That sign was on a list of about 72 signs that we were in the process of getting. We were in the process of redoing all the entrance signs to the parks, and that was one that was on the replacement list. The wooden sign that was there, I think it got hit by a car. The fault is mine for not putting that one to the top of the list over the other 71.
Thank you, Councilwoman Ruby.
Okay, thank you. First of all, I'd like to say I appreciate when I get the list of deferred maintenance and to be able to check off the things that are being fixed. And I really like that list of the vandalism, which helps us to see what are these things that are costing money that when we get a park ranger, we should have less of that. And that will ultimately save us money and have more money available to do these deferred maintenance. And then I'm going to go to one of my pet peeves, and that's the stable in Iroquois Park. That building is architect design. It has a lot of potential for other uses besides horses, but I know nothing is going to be done to it. It's got a hole in the roof, and I understand they need to upgrade the water before they put a sprinkler system in. And this is a big chunk of change. But I am very afraid that at some point somebody's going to go over there and start a fire and it's going to be gone. So what does it take to get that moved up?
It takes about $250,000 to $300,000 to do what needs to be done. And if you look at it, if you want to spend $300,000 on a building that has no use, there's nobody there. It's kind of difficult knowing there's so many other needs that we've got, and then there's the building. Yes, it's a gorgeous building. It's pretty cool how it's laid out. But if there's nobody there and there's nobody in it, would you rather spend that money there or in a community center that we have kids in that needs an HVAC system? So those are the decisions that are having to be weighed because we're not flush with capital to do everything we wanted to do.
Absolutely. So if we had a group that had a consensus for what they want to see in there, then that would certainly weigh into it.
Sure.
Okay, thank you.
But if you don't mind, got a question for, I guess, you and the chair as well. You were talking about deferred maintenance. And I don't know really how to bring it up, but just ask. But if you all have seen the reports that we're sending every month, can you all look at that, maybe do a little research, and then let us know, is that what you all want to see? Is there anything else that you all want to see? Not just this committee, but the council as a whole. Everybody's should be seeing those reports, but is the information being used? Is it useful? What else, what other things could we provide that could help tell that story?
I haven't answered, but I'll let you go.
Okay, I was going to say is, if you could send us a list of everything and not certainly what you're currently working on. I know that'd be a very long list, but something we could use to prioritize. Okay.
Yes, so I was getting ready to ask a question before I pass it on to Councilman Leninger. But is there a way we can get the project manager construction company info and more details on the report of what is being done, I guess, timeline, right? Like, hey, we're working on this now, we're planning on doing this next, so on and so forth. So we have some type of projected timeline from the contractor and or the project manager says, this is what our expectations are, so that we're just not saying, oh, they've got the Sun Valley restrooms in construction and they've only spent this much and we've still got to work on this and we don't know what the next part of that project is. Did they get the foundation poured? Are they running electrical today? Or is the splash pad at, Nick Rodman Park going to be, on next week, or are they repairing the concrete? Whatever the case may be, some more detail in those reports would be, I think, very helpful to our staff and ourselves as we move through this.
Well, those reports that we're submitting are deferred maintenance.
Right, but
I think you're talking about more other capital projects as well.
I was using those as an example. So let's say deferred maintenance on, let's go back to California Community Center. All right, we've got this deferred maintenance in our queue. This is where we're at. This is where the contractor's working on. This is the info for the contractor, and they plan on starting this day, and then having them fill in their portion of,
Sure.
We plan to execute and finish here. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Councilman? And then we got to kind of wrap up. We're a little over time.
Yeah, so going back to the discussion about, prioritizing California Community Center versus the Stables at Iroquois Park, those are still both very pressing needs. I say this, my brother lives, along the riding trail, and if there was a fire, which, as Councilor Rui pointed out, is a very real concern with no sprinkler system, that'd be a pretty serious problem for my family. What funding level do we need for parks that we are not saying, well, do you want an HVAC at California Community Center, or do you want to make sure that the Stables Iroquois Park don't burn down? Is that at the Parks for All funding level that, again, passed unanimously, supported by the mayor's office? Is it more than that? Where would we have to be so that we're not on these very serious issues saying, hey, man, it's your choice, but you got to pick one?
As a number, don't have that answer. I think that's the goal of the spending plan in the Parks for All is, and why you prioritize that deferred maintenance need first is to clear that out, but while at the same time not adding to that deferred maintenance. We will be engaging the consultant that prepared that report with a follow-up contract, and one of the pieces of that work plan is to take a look at budget needs and how to communicate that and characterize that, and that update of where we were at with funding levels when the original report came out versus where we are today, and what's the gap that remains. So that your question is an excellent one to pose in that process.
Yeah, I'm just, I want to know where that target is, which
Right.
of course is a moving target if you're talking about peer cities, because back when the original study was done, that was one level. I doubt that it's the same number today.
Thank you all. We're a little over time, so I appreciate your all's patience. Thank you all for coming in and answering those questions. Obviously, we have many more questions and many more concerns that we want to address as we will continue to evolve on the agenda and move forward. I would just love to keep the line of open communication going and work as diligently as possible so we can move forward effectively and efficiently to address all the concerns for all of our parks and our community centers and everything that you all oversee. So thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you all.
Meeting adjourned.